Hey VC, this is Glenn, your low-end music freak, back with a new video. This is actually going to be a series of videos I have come up with my top 100 albums of all time. If you don't think that's a challenging endeavor, give it a try sometime. It was really challenging and very tough to do. I was surprised it took me many hours to put this together. I'm going to reveal 10 albums per video, so there'll be 10 videos. I'll start counting down or up from 100. So my process was, I have my vinyl and CD collection, which totals about 2,400 titles on Excel spreadsheets. So I pulled up the Excel spreadsheets and looked at every single title that I have and then considered whether it should go into a final selection process. I then made a list of narrowed it down to about 150 titles that would get the honor of being in the top 100. So I opened up a new Excel spreadsheet, numbered it 1 to 100, and started putting albums down. So actually the least challenging part was doing the first 10. My first album is always my favorite album, or what I consider the best album. I'd say the first 5 at least were like automatic, and then I had to juggle around on the last 5. I made some changes here and there. Then I started to do number 11 to 20 and whatever, and I was really having a hard time. So I thought, well, why don't I start from 100? So I went down to the 100 line and started plugging in albums that I thought just made the list. So that made it a bit easier working up from the albums that were close to the 100 mark rather than the ones that were close to the top, because it's just overwhelming. I don't think there's a bad album in the whole top 100. So if you made the Glen Kellaway top 100 of all time list, you did pretty good. It's an honor. I would think the top 50 I'll get 5 stars, and from 51 to 100 get 4 stars. So all great albums. I'm anxious to show you. So let's get started with the album that just made the list. Some of these are going to be CDs, by the way, quite a few of them. Elvis Costello, Armed Forces. So this album was released in 1979. It's Elvis's 3rd album. It was like a trilogy of great albums that Elvis Costello made. His debut album, My Name Is True, followed by this year's Model, and then this, which is my favorite of the 3, but I love all 3 of those albums. I think they're terrific. This album is listed in the book, 1,000 albums you should hear before you die. So 1,001 albums you should hear before you die. So that's pretty good. Great songs on this album. 2 that really stand out. What's So Funny About Peace, Love, and Understanding, which I think was written by Nick Lowe, not by Elvis Costello, but he just friggin' rocks on that song. It was one of my favorite songs of all time. And, which was somewhat of a minor hit for Elvis, was Oliver's Army. So this is a great album from start to finish. It's number 100 on my list. Number 99. I'm not sure how many people are familiar with Son Volt. I'm sure a lot of you are, but some of you aren't. I love this freaking album. It's American Central Dust. American Central Dust was released in 2009. If you're not familiar with Son Volt, Americana, roots rock, country, alt country sometimes. I figured what I do for albums, I'm not going to do it for albums that everybody knows, an artist and everybody knows, but if I don't think you're familiar, I'm going to play a cut or 2 or portions of a cut just so you get some idea. So here is the first song off of American Central Dust. It's called Dynamite.
When the levee goes, the heart breaks away, the mind holds back, this loose, dirty, pouring rain.
taste of American Central Dust. If you like Americana, roots rock music, this is a fantastic album. Number 99 on my list. Number 98, psychedelic rock at its best. Country Joe and the Fish, electric music for the mind and body. This is Country Joe's first album. It was released in May of 1967. Started off the Summer of Love, one of the great psychedelic albums, in my opinion, from the San Francisco area. This had one song that was kind of an FM staple back on underground radio, which was Not So Sweet, Martha Lorraine. This is more of a rock, bluesy rock album. I think Country Joe is probably most famous for Feel Like I Fixin' to Die and the Fish Cheer. But that album, which followed, is almost jug bandish in a way. It really sounds like a jug band album, more folky kind of a thing. But this is definitely more blues rock album. Great album, Country Joe and the Fish, electric music for the mind and body. Number 98. Number 97. Great British blues rock band from the 60s. Humble Pie, Rock On. As a studio album goes, this is my favorite Humble Pie album. I love the Rock and the Fillmore album. Crazy good. And but this is my favorite. This was released in 1971. It's the last album with Peter Frampton before he left. Great album. Songs on here, Shine On. There's one, Stone Cold Fever, which is a great song. They did great live in concert. And Rolling Stone, it kind of joins together. Great album. Steve Marriott, the great Steve Marriott, left us too soon, died in a fire. Just a ball of energy on stage, and Peter Frampton's playing is incredible on these albums. So Rock On, Humble Pie, number 97. Number 96, I'm a big fan of early Pink Floyd. So, Saucer Full of Secrets. Saucer Full of Secrets was released in 1968. You know, it charted in the UK and made it up to number 9 in the charts, and it never charted at all in the US, I'm discovering, until it sold enough copies like by 1991 or something to get recognized on any kind of charts at all for album sales. But this is back to their early psych days. This is when Syd Barrett started to go crazy. So he's on a bit of this album, but the man who got introduced on this album, David Gilmour. So this is the first Pink Floyd album that featured David Gilmour and produced by Norman Smith, who worked with the Beatles. These were recorded at Abbey Road Studios. Great album. Love Saucer Full of Secrets. My favorite songs on here. Set the Patrols for the Heart of the Sun is awesome. Saucer Full of Secrets is awesome. Great album. If you like early Floyd, this is one of the best ones. I saw Nick Mason's Saucer Full of Secret tour last year. He is putting out, I don't know if it's out yet or not, I thought it was delayed. He's putting out a DVD and an album from that tour. It was one of the best shows I've ever seen. It was so good. They did it so well. It's if you like early Floyd, definitely watch for that coming out. Anyway, Saucer Full of Secrets is number 96. Number 95 on the list, one of my favorite bands. This is their debut album. This was Jethro Tull. Now, this album was released in 1968. Do you know how much it cost to make this album? £1,200. Incredible. Great album. This is different for their debut album. Is much different than what we're all used to, the sound of Jethro Tull. This is very a blues-based album because Martin Barr had not joined the band yet as a guitarist. It was Nick Abrams, and terrific album. This is when I first found out about Jethro Tull. When this album came out, the local underground FM station, Chum FM in Toronto, would play a song off this album called Beggar's Farm. It was kind of the underground staple song for FM radio. Loved that song. I never bought the album at the time, though. I didn't buy a Jethro Tull album until Aqualung came out, which is one of my favorite albums of all time, and you'll be hearing much more about that one later. But this was Jethro Tull's a great album. This is the book style reissues that came out over the past couple of years, 40th anniversary releases done by Stephen Wilson. If you're a Tull fan at all, you have to own these. I have the whole set. I think there's 8 or 9 of them. Just fantastic. 4 CD sets. They have the album in its entirety, and then they put live stuff on there, and it's just that great. And the whole story of the times and for each album are is all in here. Just great. It's like it's a book to read, actually. So great album. This was Jethro Tull, number 95. Number 94, Cream, Wheels of Fire. Awesome album. Wheels of Fire was released in 1968. You know, this is the first double album to sell have platinum sales. Great album. It featured Sitting on Top of the World. Of course, the Cream classic White Room is on this album. The first album is studio. The second album is live performances. Wonderful album. Cream, Disraeli, Wheels of Fire. That's coming in at number 94. Number 93. I gotta apologize. I don't have this on vinyl. I have it on CD, and it's an autographed CD cover, so it's framed in my room. I couldn't take it down to, because it's stuck on the wall, I couldn't take it down to show it. So I'm just showing the CD disc. Neil Young's second solo album. Everybody knows this is Nowhere. This is a great album. I've got 3 or 4 favorite Neil Young albums, and they're all on the list, and this is definitely one of them. I don't know why I put it so low, but hey, it's battling with a lot of great albums. This album featured Cinnamon Girl, which was Neil's probably his first hit record outside of the Buffalo Springfield. It also has Down by the River, which is a great song. This was Neil's debut with playing with Crazy Horse. Great album. Neil Young, everybody knows This Is Nowhere. That is coming in at number 93. 2 more to go. Number 92. My second favorite artist of all time, Bob Dylan, Bringing It All Back Home. This album was released in May 1965, I believe, maybe earlier than that, maybe early in the spring. Great album. This is kind of along with this and Mr. Tambourine Man by the Byrds, I would say, really started the folk rock craze. The first side of this album is a rock album. The second side is an acoustic album. So Dylan was trying to move into the rock scene, at the same time trying to appease his fans of his folky first 4 albums. This has Mr. Tambourine Man on it. It's All Right Ma, It's All Over Now Baby Blue, and Gates of Eden. It's funny because I had Highway 61 before I had this, so I bought Highway 61 when Like a Rolling Stone came out on the radio and just blew me away. Bought that, and I had the single Like a Rolling Stone, and on the B side of that single was Gates of Eden. Well, Gates of Eden was on the previous album, Bringing It All Back Home, so I ended up buying this album after Highway 61. Subterranean Homesick Blues is on this, Maggie's Farm, killer record. Coming in at number 92, Bringing It All Back Home. And the last one for today, number 91, Peter Gabriel. So, I was not a big Genesis fan. I didn't mind it, but owned no Genesis, and I just didn't care for it that much back in the day. Peter's first 4 solo albums had no titles. They were just pictures of scratches and car windshields and whatever, and they all have nicknames. They were just Peter Gabriel Scratch and Peter Gabriel Car, and I don't know what the other ones were called. Anyway, they weren't big commercial albums at all, except for Salisbury Hill, which was a pretty popular song, great song. This was his first commercial album, released in 1986. Sledgehammer was all over the radio. Great, great song. There's not a bad song on this album. I love it. I know it's more commercial for maybe the heavy Peter Gabriel fans, but definitely my favorite Peter Gabriel album. It also has the great song Don't Give Up with the vocal performance with Kate Bush, which I absolutely love. Anyway, Peter Gabriel. So that's the first 10 records. I think they're all great albums. They could have been in somebody else's top 10. One thing I wanted to admit, or I wanted to tell you, is when I was doing this, I decided I started to put albums like Kinda Blue, Miles Davis on it, and John Hartford's Steam-Powered Aeroplane, and I was putting Miles Davis Kinda Blue, which is one of the great albums of all time, down like in the 80s and I thought it just doesn't deserve that. So I decided to leave the genres of jazz and bluegrass out of this. This is strictly pop and contemporary music and popular music. I may do another one, a smaller list for jazz and bluegrass albums on another video, but so if you don't see any jazz on here, or it's not because I don't appreciate the albums or think that they're great, I just didn't want to include them on this list. So that was it. And also my other rule was no greatest hits albums, so you won't see any greatest hits albums on the list. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. In the next day or so I will do maybe one a day. I'm going to try and do one a day. We'll get to the next 10. Thanks so much for watching.